Welcome to the third and penultimate part of the Hidden Details episode of Zelda 1. I've learned a lot of cool new things and hope you have too, so I'm happy to say that for our penultimate part, I have 27 hidden details for us to explore. Last week we just defeated a Gliok to obtain the fourth piece of the Triforce. Now we have one final gathering in the Overworld, where we will collect 2 heart containers, the power bracelet, and the magical sword. The most powerful sword in Zelda up to this point. First, let's bomb this wall to see what the old man is up to, and wow. He makes us pay for bombing his door, but doesn't seem to mind in other instances. This fun theory of certain versions of the old man being with the Yiga clan was what I first thought of. Let's make our way through the overworld to gather the last 2 non-boss heart containers, where we will be utilizing the ladder and the raft. Speaking of the raft, I completely missed this, but thankfully Snailton didn't. The raft has joined the arrow, the merchant, the sword, and the dude as members of the Link fan club. Well done. Thinking back to when the old man told us in level 4 to walk into the waterfall, we remember the waterfall near the white sword location and head into it. Turns out this old woman is just as bad as the old man, where she'll only talk if we pay her. But what makes it worse is that paying her too little is too cheap for her, and the only way to getting our hint is paying the maximum amount of rupees. And we will keep this hint in mind for later. As we make our way over to collect our goodies, there's a weird parallel to Zelda 1 that was brought to my attention in Final Fantasy, the game we talked about in the previous part. In this village called Elfheim, there's a grave that reads, "Here lies Link," and interestingly enough, the villagers are all dressed similarly to Link himself. I wonder if this has any relation to Nintendo changing the name of this game from the Hyrule Fantasy. Now we arrive at the grave holding a magical sword, and just by having enough hearts, we obtain the most powerful sword. Take note of the fact that there was a heart number threshold to obtain it. Do you guys know the other game that requires this? Interestingly enough, many do not know what the power bracelet actually does in this game due to its limited use, but they serve to push these heavy blocks and unlock warp zones, which we will use to get closer to level 5. By now you may have noticed many similarities to Super Mario Bros, and that's because this game is running on a heavily modified version of Super Mario Bros.'s engine. Lucas Papaji was able to notice some of these reused assets. We now arrive at level 5, thanks to the sort of evil old woman that told us to go up, up, up at the Lost Hills, the only appearance of this location in any Zelda ever. We first head into the room on the right and encounter Pole's voice, an enemy we are told doesn't like noise. The implication is to use our own voice and a microphone to defeat them. However, since we are playing the NES version, which doesn't come with a microphone, they change their weakness to arrows, with no hint towards using this weapon at all. Not even the recorder we just picked up works as a substitute for the mic, which most players would logically assume to be the weapon of use. Let's listen to the tune Link plays. Very nice. I hope we hear this again somewhere. Now that we have a recorder, we should make our way back through the dungeon and up to the boss. As we head up, I have always wondered what this official art of Link in a dungeon is doing. There doesn't appear to be any sort of crawl space location in any of these dungeons, so my assumption is that this is a secret path down to where we usually grab our items, which fits into the block pushing and going underground. A YouTuber by the name of Capsist Animation actually drew the official art of Zelda 1 come to life. Go check him out. At last, we have arrived at the final boss. However, the dude tells me he can defeat this boss without anyone getting hurt. Let's give him a shot.
Hey man, make love, not...
Okay, that didn't work out. Let's go ahead and do this the old-fashioned way by using our recorder. There's a little trick we can do here to make this boss a joke as well. Place a bomb, play the recorder, and place another bomb, trivializing an otherwise difficult boss, allowing us to obtain the 5th piece of the Triforce of Wisdom. How are you doing, the dude?
Oh man.
Now we do the very first bit of backtracking in Zelda and head on over to the graveyard. I don't know if I should count this next fact as a hidden detail, but these boulders that roll down in Death Mountain look and bounce almost autonomously and reminded me so much of Gorons rolling in other Zelda games. I think that maybe this area served as inspiration for the future species, but that is just speculation on my part. Now we arrive at level 6, and I wanted to point out that these levels we are entering are officially called Labyrinths and never associated with the word dungeon. In fact, the official manual for Zelda 1 always only refers to them as labyrinths. I've been incorrectly using the word dungeon sometimes out of habit, and wanted to point this out as the concept of this game comes from the idea of labyrinths in the underworld of Hyrule directly below the overworld, which is pretty cool. As you grab the magical rod, I wanted to point out that we will never be seeing Link open a treasure chest. If you have a keen eye and looked at the official art, you'll see that even the official art incorrectly assumes this game utilizes chests to hold our goodies. Even at a time before chests became vital to Zelda, the official artists thought they'd be used. Now to receive a cryptic hint that that so many people point to as a terrible hint and why this game is ever so frustrating. However, I don't think this hint is actually that bad, and I'll explain why as soon as we use said hint to solve a mystery. New information from Norki translating old Japanese interviews have given us even more information about what us Westerners were in the dark about. In this old interview, it was revealed that this game is set before human society. This is interesting to find out. Did they already have all people in this game be a Hylian species, as we learned later? Was this world originally conceived as ancient civilization before us humans? It's so cool to see the original plans for Zelda, I mean the Hyrule Fantasy universe. Now we've reached Gomo, who we will be seeing a lot of going forward through the games. Want to take a shot at this dude? No. That's okay. Just one arrow takes out Gomo, and after a really hard dungeon, we get another joke of a boss. Just like that, we are getting so close to the end of the game. We head out of level 6 and head down to visit our first fairy fountain. As we head down, you'll notice that we are going through a new area that we barely even touched throughout the game. These are the Lost Woods, a location staple that will be present throughout this entire series. But unfortunately, in this game, the Lost Woods aren't even required to go through, as you can take a path up north to the graveyard, as we have done multiple times. I may have recognized this and fixed this in the second quest, where it is required to go through the Lost Woods in order to obtain a key item. Now we encounter a fairy fountain for the first time, and using the old man's hint from earlier, we go to an identical fountain directly west and notice no fairies. After playing the recorder, we uncover the secret and enter level 7. A cryptic secret, but a secret nonetheless. Going back to the Q&A we discussed earlier that Norki uncovered, there was another section of that Q&A where the developers were asked what Link's race was, where they replied that he's a fairy child. This could mean so many things. One thing I find interesting about that is that a fairy child in folklore means a changeling, a substitute left by a supernatural being when kidnapping a human being. Maybe Link is secretly a moblin, that's why he has some moblin buddies. Though I doubt that the developers would have this in mind, as Link is the main hero and there's no evidence that Link is some plot twist villain. Though it could mean anything, with even some implication that he's related to fairies, I think it's more likely he is simply touched by the magic of fairies, as his race would later be affirmed to be Hylian. It's still interesting to learn and see the origin of Link having a continuous and good relationship with fairies. We finally reached the end of level 7, where we fight our repeat boss, and just like that, we are one Triforce piece away from the full set. Heading out, I wanted you to all know that I didn't forget about the dungeon, labyrinth shapes of all the previous labyrinths we've just entered. Let's take a look at every single one. Still can't stop calling them dungeons. Chronologically, we encountered the eagle, moon, manji, snake, lizard, dragon, demon, and finally the last main labyrinth we are going to enter is the lion. So what do all these labyrinth shapes mean so far? There's a more practical answer once we enter the final level, but a more mythic interpretation is Link starting out as an eagle with vision and a new beginning and ending up as a lion after so many trials, the symbol of courage and triumph, a mark that Link is ready to face the ultimate challenge. At last we reach level 8. Surprisingly, this dungeon is not that bad. If we head directly west, we encounter another manhandla, which is called a testy tart in Japanese, the same name as the piranha plant from Super Mario Bros. In Japanese. Another cool direct reference caught by Norki. Heading west even more, we will grab one of our last mainline items in the game and permanently have the Book of Magic. This item is somewhat considered a nerf by experts in Zelda 1. What it does is leave a fire trail on the ground, but this cuts off your own movement, with many players opting to never even grab this item. I, for one, will be grabbing it, as I am a completionist nerd. This dungeon would be a lot harder if the bosses in this game weren't an absolute joke, but alas, we could one-shot most of them. I actually think Darknet rooms are much harder than most bosses in this game. And here's a hint for entering the final level of Zelda 1. Do you think anyone even knew what this meant? Speaking of that Book of Magic, by the way, this item is also a direct nod to Christianity again. Hear me out before you call it a stretch and roll your eyes, but this item is called the freaking Bible in Japanese. The Bible. You can't get more obvious than that. It's a coincidence. The cross could just mean it's a part of the American Red Cross. Okay, sure, buddy. Now, this is strange. This level has 2 items we can grab here. This is the magical key, one of the best items in the game, and allows us to not worry about collecting keys ever again, as they unlock all locked doors in the game, even outside the labyrinth. An astute comment by GG Butts pointed out that I could have gotten this key even before level 1, if I was a little careful and avoided enemies, so now I feel like a big dumb idiot. Just kidding, I didn't grab it to add some challenge. At least that's what I'm going to say. Also, it's fun to point out that you can indeed tackle most of these dungeons in any order you want in this game, a mechanic that the devs became obsessed with many years later. Okay, going back to this key, you may notice that the symbol has turned into an A. Many assume this means all, but the reason for this is that in the Japanese version of the games, this is called the Almighty key. Thanks, Norki. One of the many mistranslations in Zelda 1. Here's another dumb thing us Westerners get. This cryptic hint we're seeing originally was telling us to search for the almighty key in the Japanese version of the game. A much more helpful hint. I think the old man here has earned some front shots with our sword. Disappointments aside, the final boss is yet again a Gliok, and if you have been paying attention, you'll notice that the Zelda team ran out of bosses after level 6. I won't give them too much flack though, as this game only has 2 kilobytes of RAM to work with. The latest Zelda game release has 4 gigabytes of RAM in comparison, literally 1 million times more. And just like that, we have finished the penultimate labyrinth and we'll go on to face Ganon wherever he is. Let's go collect the final piece of the Triforce of Wisdom, and inside we spot our new 1-year members. You guys are the best. Thank you Fluffy the Floofs, Raven Skull 13, and Jasmine E. Thank you especially to all of my members for being simply amazing. So guys, there's this new feature called hyping. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but it seems pretty important for algorithm pushes and whatnot, and with me making a lot of shorts recently, YouTube's a bit confused on how to recommend my videos now, so if you can hype the video to get this out to as many people as possible, that'd be so awesome. But I will see you guys for the final part next week.